Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 6th episode of Out the Group Chat.
6 episodes, wow.
Woo! We're almost done. That's kind of crazy.
Done with season 1.
Yeah, season 1.
If y'all were not aware, season 1 is going to be 8 episodes, and then we're going to take a little break, and then we'll be back even better than we are now. And we're fucking amazing right now.
Exactly. We're going to circle
Consolidate.
Regroup. Yeah. And I mean, we've improved so much already, which is kind of, like, look where we
remember
are.
when we started?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The first episode, honestly, it needs to be wiped from the internet.
But I think that speaks to the idea of sometimes you just have to start and learn along the way. Just in like the creator field in general, I think, there's a lot of thinking to do, and sometimes you just have to start where you are and then just build up. And I think we've done a good job. So
yeah. Sometimes the beginning is not pretty, and I think that's a good segue into our topic today, which is beauty standards.
Yes.
Great job.
Well, also, before we begin, I think we should acknowledge that Alliyah is not here.
Shit.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Our co-host is gone.
She will be in the next episode.
She will probably join us in the later half of this episode. Alliyah is actually chronically late all the time.
Wow.
That's me projecting my character onto her.
Yeah.
She's usually on time. But she will be here later, just not for the beginning. But go ahead.
Yes, of course. So I think to begin with, we should talk about maybe our experiences with beauty standards. I think that in general, the world as we know it is really dictated by Western beauty standards, which means, blonde hair, blue eyes, thinness. And I think we all kind of obviously deviate from that.
Right.
It's true.
I think the first topic that we should get into is like, what were the sort of the first experiences as children can you think of where you sort of understood that you were othered because of the way that you looked?
I think one thing that I can distinctly remember is like beauty standards in relation to hair.
Yeah.
Because, I'm Black, I have Black hair. I have 4C hair. Growing up in like a predominantly white Christian school, a lot of the kids did not have exposure to other Black people. So I got a lot of questions about my hair, about the texture, about the way that I had it styled. Because, as a child, I had my hair typically styled in like the cute little beads and stuff like that, braids and stuff. So it was a very interesting and not fun experience to be around a bunch of white children having to explain why my hair looks the way that it does every single day, but it is what it is.
Right.
And I think that'd be the first time.
And what's so funny though, just touching on what you said a second ago, is like the beads. It is so interesting to me how like Black culture in general is always popular culture. And now like what we do with our hair or our aesthetics is seen as like the cool thing, but it's not seen as the standard.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's weird because it's like, what is it about it being so, you think it's interesting, you think it's cool, but the second it's on a Black person versus someone who looks like you, all of a sudden, like, you can't understand how that thing can be beautiful. It's very sad, I would say, because I think a lot of people would be happier if they just like accepted that Black people were better than them. Ooh. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would say mine is very similar. So my elementary school and middle school were predominantly Black. I would say they were both located in the historically Black neighborhood of where I grew up. But even with that, I still grew up around a lot of white people, and myself and both my little sister, because I spent obviously a lot of time around her, the hair discussion was a whole thing. Like, people would call me bald because I had short hair, and they were like, "Oh, I don't understand."
Okay, but Willie did look like Lil Bill when he was a baby. But it was
we
so
should insert
cute.
a picture.
We're
Yes,
gonna
we'll
insert
a picture.
baby pictures of everyone, but Willie looked like Lil Bill, sweet little peanut head, bald, the big ears. Loved it. I was always in like a fancy little shoot when I was a kid. I think Alliyah was as well. And then Jelani, like a fancy little shoot. I always had those like JCPenney.
Oh, yes.
We did so many of those.
JCPenney, yes.
And then Jelani, you looked like the kid who would run up to somebody's door like after school and be like, is so-and-so here, so-and-so here, so-and-so here? Can they come out and play?
I'm screaming.
All of us were so cute as children. I
Yeah.
feel like we would have had fun.
My parents used to have me fitted, which I really appreciate as like as an adult.
Like the little kids now, not that, you know, I'm a parent, but like they're not dressing like little kids. Like I remember my mom would put me in like the overalls with like the teddy bears.
I love the
overalls. It was like cute, but like now I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
No, absolutely.
But anyway, yeah, back to the hair. So yeah, the hair was definitely a thing, especially with my sister, because I remember when like my mom would be getting us ready for like school in the morning or like the night before, it was always a situation with my sister and the hair and the.
It was a big deal.
Did you have a caboodle?
Explain.
So no. I don't know if it's actually called that, but that is.
I've heard of that. What is it?
It was literally just a bucket and it had all of like my sister's like barrettes. Well,
then
okay.
Yes, we just didn't call
There's
it
a word for that.
I don't think that's the word. I think caboodle is like a big mix of things.
The whole kit and caboodle, isn't that a thing?
We call it a caboodle, and it was always a situation.
I still have that.
Yeah, it's like obviously her hair was always done. It looked great, but. It was always a conversation of like, oh, what, like, why, like when we get around, like, you know, our white friends or white counterparts, like, why does it look like that? Yeah. I remember one time, so I was friends with these white people that lived next door to us, and the younger one asked my mom, like, oh, why doesn't Willie, like, just have hair like ours? And I can't remember what my mom said, but I distinctly remember that because at the time, I was like maybe in like 5th or 6th grade. It's like I fully understood the difference between, you know, white people, black people, not just with hair, but just with everything. And I just found it interesting. And I was like, clearly, like he did not. But yeah, that's like the first instance of being othered. But I think for my first instance of feeling like, oh, I don't fit the beauty standard was not until I got to high school, because I went to a PWI high school, and that was like the first time I had been around like that many white people all the time with a lot of money. Yeah. I told Élise all about my high school the other week.
I got to learn about all the different distinct factions and the way people behaved.
But it was very much so like, oh, I feel like I don't fit into this because everyone was like dating and this and that, and that was also on top of me being gay but not out. It was a lot, but it's like that was the first time I was like, oh, I don't fit the beauty standard that others are, you know, trying to fit into. And not only do I not fit it, there's no way for me to change me to fit it.
I think the like immobility is something that I felt a lot. I think going back to like being younger, I have like a lot of the same memories as you, Willie. Like I think we all have that similar experience with hair. Like hair is like kind of like the first thing, because I remember I used to be called like peach fuzz, which really doesn't make sense because white people also get their hair buzzed. So why is that like a big deal?
They call it a buzz cut, and it's trendy.
Right, exactly.
A white boy with a buzz cut, you cannot trust them.
Blanket statement.
I'm
do
just
not
saying.
trust them.
No. Do you guys remember How to Get Away with Murder? When Frank had his hair, it was like, okay, Frank is like, he's still bad, but he's normal. The second he buzzed his head off,
it was
he
like,
was just killing everybody.
He was a bad boy. Yeah, it's like when you buzz your hair, like that's like
that's
bad
dangerous.
It's dangerous.
Well, yes, exactly. I think the interesting thing about hair, and then what you said about mobility, or like just being able to even access like what is the standard for other people, is that obviously hair in the Black community is a big deal. Even if you don't care about hair is always a big deal. Yeah. And I mean, you can look at the natural hair community and like the natural hair movement when it was like at its biggest, which was like, I don't know, 2010 to maybe 2016 or 2017. But the hierarchy of hair within the Black community and beauty, I think, is something important. Because people put the hair on a hierarchy regardless of the fact that I think all Black hair is beautiful. All Black hair can do different types of things. And I think it's so unique and so fun. But, you know, people are always craving the 4A, 3C, 3B, 3A.
Perfectly defined.
The curly,
good hair.
The
Everyone
hair.
wanted that Corbin blue curl.
Right? No, they want even looser than that.
Yeah.
They want something that like you can still tell this is black hair, but it's like, yeah, no, I have that black hair versus like someone over there.
And so to piggyback off of that, I remember because I was trying to get to like my high school. I also had a similar experience because I went to a PWI. And it's so funny thinking about it now because it's like, I'm beautiful and I still look like this. And so it was just so crazy. It is so crazy to me that like I was essentially tricked into thinking that I was like less than I actually was, when really I was that bitch. And I feel like that experience extends to a lot of black people because, and going back to like the immobility, you can't do anything about the beauty standard. And when you're coming
the things
into
that you do are like harmful, because I was going to bring up like relaxers. Like,
oh no,
I was relaxing my hair throughout my entire childhood.
Yes, and so going back to what you said about like getting the curl, I remember in high school like distinctly trying to like manipulate my hair because that's when I could finally grow it out to like get like the loose curl. But it's like you learn very quickly your curl pattern is your curl pattern. You cannot change it. Like, and so that I think is a good segue into this other topic that I wanted to talk about, which is like the self-policing of aesthetics that we go through as black people, and like your experiences with, which we kind of already touched on, with like self-policing based off of white Western beauty
So what do you
standards.
mean like that by that? Like changing the way,
Yeah,
or like
the ways
judging
that
black people because they're not fitting into what someone expects to be.
Or rather, the ways in which you police yourself because of your relation to white beauty standards. So like I said, like I would try to like manipulate my hair in order to look different or to appear more like, I guess, appropriate or palatable to white people.
Yeah.
So like just talking about the ways, that we may police ourselves.
I would say mine was more so similar. I did have that experience with my hair in high school in particular, because that's when I first started growing out my hair. But I think mine was definitely more so focused on how I would dress.
Yes.
I was very much so like very conscious of like how I looked and how I dressed and what I was wearing. And I look back at pictures of me in high school, I'm like, I looked a mess still.
We all looked a mess.
Yes, but even then I was like, and it wasn't even, I don't even think it was a conscious like, oh, I don't want to dress black because like anything I wear is dressing black because I am black. But it was more so like I'm looking at, again, these, white boys, and in particular, white gay men. And there wasn't a lot of gay men at my high school, but at that time, that's when I was kind of, again, like I was like, okay, I am gay, and I was like learning about gay culture. And at that time, the representation was overwhelmingly white gay men. And I remember being like, oh, that is what being gay is. So I need to dress like that. I need to act like that. I need to, fit into that. And it came out a lot through like the way I would dress and, the clothes I would, wear and everything. And I've always been very particular about the way I look, even now. But I think in high school, it was very much so centered around white, gay fashion, if you will.
Definitely. I mean, as somebody who very much so like curates their aesthetic, I would say that, when I was in high school, the same. It was like I wanted to dress a certain way in order to fit in. Like I remember we talked about this on one of the episodes, I think, about nostalgia, where it's like skinny jeans and like that like scene phase, like that whole, even though like punk and sort of like that is sort of emo culture in and of itself isn't necessarily white, at that time I attributed it to whiteness. And so I would try to assimilate into it in that way. And now I think being a black person, in America today, the way that you present yourself definitely affects how you are treated. And so I talk about this with Geyer all the time. Like I definitely curate the way that I dress when I'm going to certain places because I do not want to be perceived as somebody without, because you get treated differently. And it's like, I want to be, whole cloth treated the same as everybody else. And the fact that we often as black people have to think about that more, like how we are going to be perceived by the broader public every time we step out of the door, is crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And then in like for me specifically, I think there's two things that I can think of, even in like relation to hair. Like I said, I would relax my hair when I was a kid, but when I started high school, I was done. I was like, I want to grow out my hair. I want to grow out my natural hair because like, why am I doing this stupid thing for like people who don't even give a fuck? So like I went natural and I grew out my hair. But even then, I used to wear my hair in its afro state to school. And then I remember in math class, this one kid named Jackson, I hope you remember me, he went and like touched my hair and he was like, oh, I've always wondered, like it feels like cotton. And I kind of just like, I looked at him and I was like, huh, okay. But like in that instance, you know, instead of me being more bold to like now be even more black presenting, I never wore my hair out in an afro again in school ever because I was like,
Oh my God.
I'm not about to deal with white people just touching my hair for no reason because it was out of nowhere. So I just like never wore my hair out in its afro again. And when I think about that, I'm like, I policed myself because of other people's behavior when I could have just like, well, I'm not going to blame myself, but like in the sense that that was like an instance of like me policing my own behavior or how I look. Cause I never had an issue with my afro being out, but like after somebody like essentially like touching me for no reason, I was like, yeah, this is not the environment that like my hair would be appreciated.
Oh my God, look who it is,
Look
everyone.
who's come to the camera.
Wow. Thank you.
Everyone's commented on the shorts today. And then I think the second way that I felt like I would police myself was with white people being as skinny as possible is always the goal. Like it's not, or let me not generalize, with beauty standards in our society being as skinny as possible is always.
I actually think that you should say what you were going to say because white Western beauty standards is white,
what it is.
blonde, thin.
Exactly.
That is it. That's not you like
try to put something on people. Correct. Right, exactly. You don't deserve my empathy.
Say that.
But I feel like when I was growing up, what I would always do is, you know, being a black person who has always had a more like curvaceous body, I always had to put on clothes where people would see me less, if that makes sense, because I didn't like the attention that I would get because of the way my body had been shaped. And I also was made to feel like I was doing something like inappropriate or provocative by just wearing clothes. So like I've always been someone who wears like a lot of baggy clothes. I love crew necks, I love sweatshirts, I love baggy jeans and sweatpants. But that was like almost formed because of how I had to dress or how I policed myself to dress because of how society would view me or like just me as I presented myself. I hadn't done anything. It's just the way I looked. So yeah.
And I think I feel kind of similar, and this, at least speaking of like my body, but I also think there's conflicting ideals I would get too, because on one hand it is, oh, you need to be skinny, you need to be thin, but then you turn around and within our own community, it's like, oh no, but you need to be thick, you need to have this, and it's just
curvy,
like, where do you really go when one?
It's hard.
Yeah,
it's
like
hard.
I can't keep, and that's the thing, they're always changing, and the goalpost is always going to move. So I feel like until very recent, like adulthood, I was like, okay, you know what? I look how I look and this is what it is. Yeah. But when I was a kid, I remember I used to diet, and which is so crazy because I'm literally a child. I'm 12.
I'm not
I'm 12. Why am I dieting? Why am I like,
do I have my fitness pal on my phone?
It's crazy. And then you get older, you get like puberty, 16, whatever. And then it's like, oh no, I need to be thick. It's just crazy how you always, and especially as women, like we're always like pulled back and forth. And back and
well, let's even go further into like the standards within the Black community because it's different for you guys also being queer men. There's a completely different aspect to it. And then us being Black women. Right. Let's dig into it. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what is like the specific like beauty standards for gay Black men. And then how does that relate to like the overall beauty standard in the in our society?
I mean, I can start. I feel like with Black gay men, we are always expected to be like put together, like from head to toe. Like,
yes,
you always have your hair cut, like your brows are plucked, like your beard, whatever, trimmed up. You are dressed nice,
clear skin,
smell good, like clear skin. It's like we are expected to be just perfect
all the time.
And not in a way where it's like, how do I put this?
Achievable.
Yeah, it's not in a way that I feel like is like always achievable. Cause like sometimes it's like I'm just gonna put on sweats and a hat, and it's like, girl, cause like my hair it looks a mess. But again, it's like but it's always in the back of. For the longest, I would not leave my house like in like sweatpants or like gym shorts or anything like that, because I was like, I don't want to be perceived as like a bum. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that is what comes to mind as far as black gay men. Do you have any?
Yeah, I will say that the black gay male aesthetic is dictated by the white male gaze, and by that I mean
white male gaze, with
but
an S or
gaze,
gaze
not
like
not
C-A?
gaze as in plural,
Okay,
but gaze as in sight. Because we are expected to be this hyper masculine, very muscularly built, like as Willie said, kind of like perfect statuesque sort of picture of what a black male is. It's kind of weird, and I feel like we can trace that back to slavery. But we won't do. Like I was thinking, like when they had us in the little auction house. But anyways, it is like so hard, and there is so much pressure as a black man to look a certain way, because the majority of the community, like I said, is trying to appease the white male gaze. And so you have to look the way that you think they want you to look in order to be desirable. And I think that spills over even into how black gay men perceive other black gay men, because they also want that hyper masculine, like very muscular, like trade. Trade is like a very huge thing in the gay community. You don't know what trade is. Yeah.
TRADE.
Trade is, and I'm going to give you the official definition because some of y'all got it twisted.
I also
trade is a black man, emphasis on black, capital B, that is straight presenting, usually hyper masculine. So if you are perceiving them, you would not think that they are gay. That is what trade is. There is no other definition or interpretation.
There is no DL trade.
Yeah.
Those two things are in contradiction.
Sorry, there's so many acronyms. There's so many acronyms. There's so many words being used in a different way. Wait, I know DL.
Backing up for Élise.
But what was the trade initially?
Trade is a black.
No. I mean, like, what is it in context with?
Okay, in context. So in the gay community right now, trade is being used as a sort of blanket term for basically a hot man.
Right.
Like that's what it's being used for. And they're seeing anybody and they're like, oh, that's trade. Oh, that's trade. Oh, that's trade.
Okay.
That is not trade, honey.
They're commandeering the term.
Yes,
Got you.
As
they do.
As they do.
Yeah.
And
like,
so
I feel like someone would refer to Jelani as trade, but he certainly is not.
Not trade. I would not say that about myself, and I know who I am. It's because I'm self-aware, right? And so, like, getting back to your question, we are heavily policed from outside and internally to have perfect bodies. Like Willie said, hair. Like, I feel like we're talking about hair a lot, but like, definitely, like, I have to catch myself when I notice that my hair is growing to a certain length, because I automatically think, oh my God, it's not going to look professional. It's not going to look desirable.
I was looking at pictures from when we first started law school. Your hair was a lot longer, I realized. Like, you used to,
not
the braids, but you used to grow your hair out.
Yeah, like very, very long. Yeah, and since I started work, I was like, I can't like maintain that length of hair and have it still look professional, and so like I cut it, and so like going back to like policing, and I feel like all of these topics are bleeding into each other.
We'll have to
but
revisit the policing, or not the policing, the professional.
Yeah,
when it comes
professionalism.
To hair topic.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard being a black gay man.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would say I will add on to this, and this is more so. I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. But like when I started high school and then even into undergrad, because I went to the University of Florida, Go Gators, which is a PWI.
He left his Go Gators.
That's not Anyway, but it was more so that is when I was super focused on I need to fit into the gay community, because growing up, I was always, a part of black culture. I grew up in a black church, like, I was very, very black growing up. So it's like I was always a part of black culture, but gay culture was something that I had to seek out myself. And so like in high school, undergrad, definitely when I was seeking that out, I was like, this is the epitome of gay culture, being a part of, you know, that white gay clique where they're all like skinny and like very like catty like, and like, you know, they're always, you know, going out and stuff like that. And I think that for me as a Black gay man, it was really hard for me to find my identity as a Black gay man because I had so many conflicting ideas, both externally and internally. And part of that was also, it's like you said, a lot of Black gay men are expected to be like super masculine and this and that. And it's like, that is obviously not me. I would not describe myself as feminine, but I certainly am not like masculine.
I think Willie's very masculine. Anyway.
But yeah, so it was honestly, for a while, it was an internal battle. Kind of trying to figure out like who am I as a Black gay man?
Yeah.
What I was going to say that I find very interesting, specifically with what you guys have said, is the way that you guys are specifically policed and the way that you feel like you have to be super kept, look super presentable all the time. And then with you guys being in the queer community and queer men usually leaning more feminine generally, it's interesting how the same thing women are critiqued for is now what is being placed onto you guys within the queer community, but just being done by each other versus like overall like patriarchal society. But it's interesting just how it like the patriarchy affects everyone's beauty standards, and the same thing that women are like forced to be, because we also obviously, if we're not presentable, we men will kill us sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But like it's interesting that connection. But yeah, Alliyah, for us being women in the Black community, what do you think about like, or what have you noticed between like the beauty standards that are required and like how we are supposed to be perceived and stuff? Because I feel like it's a wide range, but at the same time, there's like certain things that people are always going to be like,
there's like
a Black woman has to look like this.
Yeah.
Or that.
I feel like within our community, there's 3 key things: featureism, texturism, and colorism.
Come on.
And
All
I
the
think
isms.
the way all of those things combine with each other polices the way we view ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting because then when those features are on somebody non-Black, so like fuller lips or something, curvier bodies, then those things are acceptable. But I think for Black women, especially when we're given images of women who might be lighter, for example, or they have a looser curl pattern, I think that feeds into our own negative self-image. And it even goes back to the thing where it's like, oh, if you're skinny in the Black community, it's like, ooh, she's not thick. But then if you are, there's like, oh, but she's too thick. It's just like,
there's always a line.
yeah,
There's
and
never
then as soon as
a
you
way
cross
to like,
it, it's just like, but I think even more widely, especially as a Black woman, it's not just within our community, like these wider beauty standards are always placed upon us. And it's just like when beauty is viewed as currency in that sort of way,
Absolutely.
you're always going to be trying to chase, like, even if it's, I feel like myself, I've done a lot of reprogramming and unlearning of those certain things. So where I'm just like, again, accept me as I am because this is what you're getting.
Exactly.
But I also think even from social media now, magazines, movies, TV shows, it's like we're always seeing one specific type of beauty.
Yeah.
And I think when it's lighter or looser hair, you're always going to be comparing yourself to that. And if you don't have those things, then it's just like, damn, can I go out and fix it? Should I go out and fix
Exactly.
it? Exactly.
Yeah, I was gonna say that like when it comes to Black women, there's no way for us to ever, that is a perfect woman.
Yeah.
Someone's always gonna pick apart something. And I think what's interesting with all the different like isms that you brought up, it's like the mixing and matching of them like gives you different currency in our society. I think one big thing like colorism, like I was very lucky as a kid, like my parents, colorism was not a thing in our household. My parents never mentioned skin tone, never compared to anybody. Like it was never a thing. So I was always very confident in my skin tone, but media didn't have a lot of people with my skin tone. Now it's very different, which is really nice to see. But then what I noticed is like, okay, yeah, now dark-skinned women are getting the like flowers that they deserve because we've all been beautiful always. But then it became, if you're dark-skinned, okay, now you need to look like, the models, the way the slim nose, the super high cheekbones, the specific features that then people want to attribute to Eurocentric features, which makes me like my entire brain
I don't understand.
collapses. Because what do you mean this fully black African person has Eurocentric features? Can you understand the English language, please? It doesn't make any sense
Words
to me.
have lost all meaning.
Yeah, words have lost all meaning.
Truly.
But
Truly.
so it's interesting. There's like a positive trend that's been made in terms of black women being able to be seen in all like the different forms. But then there's always still something that's going to be picked apart. So we're never allowed to actually be like, oh, that is like, you know, a beautiful woman, because somebody's always going to be like, well, actually, her butt's not big enough. Actually, her boobs are too small. Actually, you know. So.
I actually want to touch on something that you guys said, which I think is really profound, is like the aesthetics as currency, because I feel like you can sort of manipulate yourself to cash in on different things. And so speaking from like the black gay male perspective, like body dysmorphia like is so rampant within the community, because it's like, if you don't have abs, you are not seen as desirable. And as like black men in general, I feel like it is very common that in the gay community, you are only seen as desirable when it comes to sex. And so your value is attributed to how sexy you are, which is like obviously very horrible, but it's true. And so people then feed into that because they want that social currency. So they go to the gym and they do all of these things to themselves to have the social capital and the currency to be able to, I guess, exist and be in the world as somebody who wants to be desired.
Do you know what's so interesting about that in the topic of currency and like changing your body? It's interesting because like on social media, you can also like get currency and get capital because you are like the opposite of the norm. So like plus size creators, all these things, like people will like you because they relate to you, which is a good thing. But then like you have that currency, but then when you change yourself, because some people are going to, if you lose weight, if you do this, if you get surgery, whatever, you lose the currency of the people who liked you because of how you were, but then you gain the currency of the people who want the like, you fit the standard now. So
like
now
the general population.
Yeah, the general
I guess.
population.
Yeah.
So to me, it's interesting like that, the whole idea of beauty as currency, because I guess it depends on what you value more. And that's not saying that people shouldn't change or improve themselves in whichever way they feel is necessary. But it's interesting how also people who view you, it's like, if you stay one way, like I'm gonna love you forever, but if you decide to change and I no longer can like relate to you, now it's like fuck you because I thought you were doing this for me. And it's a very weird like place to be in.
It's like the stock market.
Explain.
It's like the stock market. It actually, because different people, you know, value is placed on different types of beauty or different types of aesthetics. And like you say, in one area where like social media, like you said, plus size models, they or plus size creators will garner a certain audience, and that is currency because they look a certain way. But then as soon as something changes, that value drops, and then it switches. It really does go up and down like the stock market, and it's like, what do you choose to invest in, and what is that return going to look like? Oh, and this is sort of in a similar vein of what you were talking about, but what do you think about celebrities' roles in dictating beauty standards?
I think celebrities have a lot of influence just by the nature of being a celebrity. Like, you know, people are going to pay attention and listen. I think obviously the first people that come to mind, two people come to mind when it comes to beauty standards, which is like the Kardashians. I hate the Kardashians. I don't care. I hate them. And someone like Lizzo per se.
I was just thinking about
Exactly. With the Kardashians, I don't need to go into depth about them, but like their effect on standards of beauty amongst women has been so detrimental and has a direct impact on like the way Black women are treated in society and the way that they like pumped their bodies up the way that they did, and then
to look like Black people,
to look like Black women, and then pretended like, or never wanted to actually acknowledge or like say anything like that. And then slowly remove everything the second they realize like white supremacy is creeping back into our society with like Trump and stuff coming in, suddenly they have butts that are more proportional to their bodies. Suddenly their skin is much, much more pale. They don't tan and bronze as heavily as they used to. Like, it's very interesting, like people like that who I think are genuinely just like nefarious, dangerous people. They only care about what they can like sell, and they sell themselves for everyone else to consume. And they don't give a fuck. They're going to hell. Sorry.
Going back to currency again.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And then Lizzo, really briefly, is the other person that I was thinking of, because obviously Lizzo has been attacked since she started her career. And then now that, you know, she's lost quite a bit of weight, some people have like, you know, flipped the script and they're like, oh yeah, Lizzo, whatever. But I think the most interesting thing about her is the when it comes to like certain standards, especially with like your body dysmorphia, things like that, and like the rise of Ozempic, people automatically assume that anyone who's lost weight is on Ozempic.
Yes.
And one, I don't think like Ozempic or any semaglutide is a bad thing to use. Losing weight and being obese is a chronic illness. People think it's like the easiest thing, like just stop eating and exercise. It's much more difficult than that for a vast majority of people. But like Ozempic and stuff, you know, being introduced to society, people call it like the easy way out, and they automatically attribute that to any larger person who's lost weight. And what's interesting to me, it's like you want people to like look a certain way so badly, but then if they don't do it the way that you want them to do it, you still refuse to give them like the credit of the thing. So I just think everyone's fucking stupid. But those are the two people that I'm talking about.
So do you think celebrities have a moral obligation to be very cognizant of the way that they present themselves?
I think this is an interesting question, because on one hand, I completely agree with Elise's points about the Kardashians and the way they've impacted the body image of millions of women. But also in the same vein, celebrities just more generally are susceptible to a lot of the same beauty standards we are ourselves. And I also think when you are on the forefront in that way and people are always looking at you, you're always on a screen, people can just leave comments about your body, about the way you look. They're also likely to then change those things about themselves or get surgery or do this and do that. But then there's certain celebrities where it's kind of like, oh, but they went too far. And now the thing that people said was going to make you beautiful, maybe you got filler, you got Botox, you did this, you did that. People are like, oh, now she looks old. She's in her 20s. She looks 45. Again, it's always going. That's what they be saying. Even Kylie Jenner, when she first got those lip fillers, and I remember that was like the talk of the town, and she denied it. And I think that's another thing.
It's the denial.
It's the denial of it. And then later on, she's like, "Oh, I'm dissolving my lip filler." And people just attacked me online, and I was so bullied. And it's just like, no, you fed into that very thing. You profited off of it by selling those Kylie Jenner lip kits. And so I think it's like, yes, they are susceptible to a lot of the beauty standards that are placed on us. Arguably, maybe even more so, just like being in the spotlight in that way. But when you do it, I do think there's a sort of moral obligation, not necessarily to like, we don't need to know your business about the surgeries you've gotten, but I think when they've had that much of an impact, you do have to kind of be honest about it in a way.
I agree. I would never say, like, there's no blanket statement, but exactly in the way that you said that celebrities are also just people. So obviously they're going to be susceptible to these things. The difference is because they have the additional impact, they have their responsibility to themselves. They have the responsibility to other people as well. It comes with the job. You don't get to be a celebrity, get all this money, get this like life, and then pretend like you have no responsibility, impact, or obligation to anything. So I think in the same way you said, we are not entitled to every little bit of information about someone. But if you do something that is obviously like, this is a step that you've taken, transparency is important if you are like someone who has a large influence or impact on people. Just being transparent keeps people from like treating you a certain way than if you lied about it. So I have no empathy for you. What's her name? The Kardashian.
Kylie.
Sorry, I'm gonna shit on them every chance I get. I don't like any of them.
Yeah, they're a mess. Oh my god. But yeah, I think that I agree with everything that y'all have said. I wanted to add the point of, I think, a way of combating that, because at the end of the day, we can't control what they're doing, what they're saying, whatever. Yeah. And I think that specifically within the Black community, it's so important for us to, I guess for lack of a better term, like lift each other up, acknowledge like, you know, you are like this is what the world is looking at for beauty, but it's like at the end of the day, like you're gorgeous.
Yeah.
I remember my little sister, she's like the youngest grandchild. Like we're the two youngest, and I remember when she was born, even up until now, like our entire family like fawns over her. Like she's so gorgeous, and she is like she's gorgeous. And I remember I would like talk to her about like now that we're older, like about beauty standards, this and that. And of course, like anyone, she has had her insecurities and everything like that. But I remember her saying like, yeah, like it was honestly a lot easier for me to overcome that because within our family, I was so celebrated for my natural features, for my beauty. And it wasn't just her. It's like, I feel like across my family in particular, with the women, it's like I've always seen the women be uplifted. And I think that is definitely something that helps, a way that we can help combat that, because at the end of the day, it's like we can't necessarily control what everyone else is going to do, specifically celebrities, but it's like we can control how we treat one another within our community, how we interact with one another in our community, what we celebrate, what we say to one another.
I wonder how we do push that in the Black community though, because I mean, I'm just going to be completely honest. Like we have some very smart people in this community. We also have some very dumb, coonish people in this community. Yeah. And it makes me wonder, how do we actually like get people to start seeing like the beauty that is in all forms of Blackness? Because I think what's interesting to me that I've noticed is that when it comes to like, there's things that obviously we notice about ourselves that like I'd have to say white people specifically, because in non-white cultures, it's still a thing. But like with colorism, I feel like white people, when they see a Black person, they just see a Black person. Yeah. They're not paying attention to the skin tone or anything like that. Yeah. But in the Black community, we are, you're dark skin, you're light skin, you're brown skin, you're red bone. Like, we have so many like descriptors, and it's like, damn, can we relax? So I wonder, like, how do we push that idea of, you guys, we got to stop tearing each other apart?
Yeah. I want to address what Willie said, and then I'll address what you said. It's actually very interesting that your sister said that the way that your family poured into her helped her sort of overcome the external influences of beauty standards, because I feel like my family poured heavily into me and I was still susceptible. Like I grew up being told I was, handsome, cute, all that compliment, like all of the things, right? But still, when you go outside and you're faced with those things, it's like, oh my God, like I'm, like that's why I said earlier, like I felt like I was tricked, because I'm like, I know that this is not true, but somehow when I went outside, you convinced me that I'm undesirable, ugly, like whatever the case may be. And I'm like, that was just simply not true and never had been true. So it's very interesting that your sister had sort of like the opposite effect. Yeah. And then going to what you said, Élise, about the Black community and kind of reinforcing these notions or certain beauty standards, we are so diverse as a culture. Like just looking again at hair texture, at skin tone, like everything about us is so diverse. And I find it so interesting that we as a community have decided that we are going to sort of like pick apart and like decide that certain things are more desirable than others. Again, because of white supremacy. But like, I think one way we can sort of combat this, and I think people have started combating this, is like the good hair, I guess what would you call it? Like the good hair, I guess, like moniker idea is like, stop reinforcing this idea that one hair type is like the most desirable type, because what the fuck is good hair? Yeah. Like what does that mean? Like hair that is more manageable, like is the, I guess, like the currency or like the value of a person placed on like whether or not their hair is easily manipulatable. Like that seems stupid. Yeah. Right. And we've just allowed it to go on for forever, and nobody's ever questioned it. It's like, oh, that kid's nappy headed, or like, oh, like all of these different things that I feel like have internalized and sort of allowed to become like the norm within the Black community that are actually super harmful and doing nobody any good. And when you push an older Black person about like, well, why did you say that? It's just like, oh, well, that's just how it always been. It's like, well, if we stayed how things, if things kept being how they always had been, wouldn't you be a slave.
Oh.
They don't get it.
Like
They
it's
don't
like
get it.
you know like it like there's some like computing that doesn't actually process with like I say older Black people, but like this definitely happens with younger generations as well, where it's like, guys, we need to start letting go of these old notions of what is and isn't beautiful.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
How do you think that we can reclaim beauty in a world that has taught us to hate our features?
I mean, one of the big things for me is like, you know, allowing yourself to actually believe that you are beautiful. Like, I feel like, you know, people will hear their friends tell them or their family tell them, oh, like, you're beautiful, you're pretty, you're great. And sometimes in your head, you'll be like, you're just saying that, like, whatever. But I think sometimes people forget that people are just going to say what they mean. So if they say that you are beautiful, it's because they genuinely mean that. So I think opening up and allowing yourself to see your features as beautiful, because I see so many TikTok videos of these young girls in their early 20s who will sit in front of the camera and they'll be like, okay, guys, like, obviously I'm ugly. And it's like, you don't have to, like, I understand that I am. I've come to accept it. You don't have to explain, like, what are things that I can do to, like, make myself look better. And I'll see those videos.
It's crazy.
And it makes me so sad because I'm just like, I'm sitting here looking at this 22-year-old Black girl saying that, like, I'm ugly. How can I, like, become more beautiful? And I'm just like, this is so crazy. Like, you look like what I looked like when I was 20-something years old. Like, you look like my little cousins. You look like my sister. Like, why would you... why would you? Because I know why you're saying this. I hate that you feel like you have to say this. Because, like, if you grew up in Africa, every person looks like you. So you no longer have to compare yourself to, like, all these other people and being like, that person has really long hair, that person has these eyelashes and eyebrows, that person has a big butt, that person has a small waist. Like, you're just existing the way that you are, and you allow yourself to actually see the beauty in your features. So that's what I don't know. That's what I would say is, like, actually just sitting down and allowing yourself, like, look at yourself in the mirror and being like, I am beautiful. Like, look at my eye shape, look at my nose, look at my lips. Like, these are the distinct defining features of my face. Yeah. I look like that.
Right.
Come on.
I think
you can't look like everyone else. Come on.
I agree. I was going to say something very similar before I started, you know, posting on TikTok, if you will, or even before we started doing this. The big concern in my head was like, oh my God, people are going to pick apart, like, how I look, and they're gonna be like, you know, people are gonna comment on how we look. And I think I had to just really be okay with that and really be secure in, you know, how I look and, you know, be confident in myself, which I think I'm a very confident person.
How did you get the security?
I think, honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, you just gotta say it until you believe it. And then also therapy. Right. Like, I have been going to therapy for a really long time. And one of the things that I worked on is just being very, like, okay, like, being not even just okay, but happy with who I am and what I look like, and kind of trying to take out the expectations that people put on me. One big one was the, like, masculinity thing within the gay community, because it's like, again, like, I'm not a masculine presenting person. I don't feel like I, you know, come off as tough. I think that when people see me, I feel like I seem very, like, soft and kind and everything like that, which I am. But I think being okay, like, learning just to be okay with that. And it is something that takes a lot of work. Again, it's like, I was going to therapy, like, talking to, you know, my peers, my friends about this, because really, I don't think that I was really, like, confident in the way of, like, how I looked and, like, how I dressed and everything like that until I got to, like, law school, if I'm being honest. It was a very long journey, but I think also just being honest and open about it as well. But yeah, sometimes you gotta fake it. I don't even say fake it till you make it, but it's like, you just have to persevere. Like, you have to keep going.
Yeah, I would say, like, aggressive self-love, really. Alliyah.
I would agree with that. I also like what Élise said about if you made the comment, like if she or whoever, you know, you were talking about, if they were in Africa and they saw all these people, were surrounded by all these people who looked like them, they wouldn't even be questioning their beauty in the way that they were. And I think that's a part of it. I think, like you said, we have a lot more representation now, like dark skin representation, which I think is beautiful, but also surrounding yourself, which isn't always, I will preface by saying sometimes, again, we already discussed how the Black community places its own ideals about beauty upon women. But I do think in a way, like surrounding yourself with blackness in general can be beneficial, because I know even me growing up, like all the shows I watched pretty much included Black people. All the movies I watched, you know, my entire family's Black. Like, it's just, I feel like I was surrounded by so much Blackness that I almost, like, I just didn't see anything else to make me question why it was beautiful or why, you know, like I never, again, like you said, when you went onto the world, yes, some of those things are placed upon you, but I think just the simple fact that I was surrounded by it, and this is like what I knew, I was like, you low-key can't tell me shit though. Like, it's,
Exactly.
you know,
Like, get out of my ass. But yeah.
like,
We're going to play a little game of hot or not. Okay, so we're going to start off with BBLs.
Oh, wait, also, let's clarify. These are just like fashion trends. And we're saying
Fashion, beauty trends.
fashion beauty trends that are like popular right now, and saying like, okay, like, what do we think about them?
Yeah.
We all of us are pro plastic surgery, pro doing whatever is best for your body. We're just giving our general opinions. Please live your best life.
Right. Okay. BBLs.
I would say
Yes or
yes,
yeah?
as long as you know, the thighs match the butt.
I would say no, because the same people who sit on the table to get BBLs are the same people who are attacking people for being fat. Cardi B.
Wow. Oh, God. You know, and that's so true. I would say hot, but just because I believe that modifying your body in order to make it what you want is okay. But like Willie said, the thighs have to match.
I agree. First of all, I'm pro surgery. Listen, if you want to change something about you, go ahead and do it, as long as it looks good. I will say some BBLs I've seen, most BBLs I've seen do not. But
In person?
yeah, in person. That's what I'm saying.
I've
What's
rarely.
going on?
When I was in Vegas recently,
Doechii has
I
an
was
amazing
like,
one, though.
that's what I'm saying.
Doechii's is
Doechii,
fantastic.
Drea, like there are some where I'm like, okay, that's tea.
Yeah.
Button nose job.
Strictly speaking, on Black people, no, it just does not look like that. Is not natural.
Black people, when you get a rhinoplasty, please get an ethnic rhinoplasty. It's going to look the best
Yeah.
with your features. Please stop getting white noses.
Yeah, I would say not as well, but not even just for Black people. For mostly everybody, I think we can let that go.
And I'm of the same opinion. No, I can't. I'm
Stop.
sorry.
Okay,
Not.
hot or not, lip filler.
Yes, like, you know, I think it looks good.
I will say yes. When it don't get too crazy with it, but yeah, you know, it makes people feel good.
Yeah, I would generally say hot with moderation.
I'll go with hot. To me, lip filler at this point is like, it's basic.
It's almost like
everybody
every
is.
other
It's
person
Yeah.
has it.
Okay,
Whatever.
buccal fat removal, or is it buccal fat?
I have no
Is it
idea.
buccal?
I thought it was
I don't know.
buccal.
Maybe
I
okay, buccal fat removal.
Right.
I'm just gonna say no, because I can't even think of anyone that I have seen that's gotten it that looks like, I don't want to say just no.
Mm-hmm.
I would say no. I think our faces are supposed to have some fat in them. Yeah.
I would say hot. It kind of looks really cunty. Like I don't. There's
Miley
something about that.
Cyrus.
Like
I was gonna say Miley
Did she
Cyrus.
get what?
I'm not making any claims because I don't know anything about
Yeah.
what she's done, but she has that look that I think people are going for. And I think Miley Cyrus is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
However, I don't think it translates to everyone. That's why I would say no.
Yeah.
I would.
Okay, fair.
No, go finish.
No, I've heard Lori Harvey had it. I do think your face should have a youthful, like more fat gives you a youthful appearance. I don't know. I think I'm somewhere in between. I'll go with hot though.
Okay.
okay. Botox.
I mean, I think it's hot in moderation, obviously, but I think it's also one of those things where it's like a lot of people have Botox.
Yeah.
I think every other person gets Botox at this point. So yeah, I don't know,
Yeah,
whatever.
I would say hot. I
Hot.
get Botox. And then this one might be a little controversial. Veneers.
I knew you were going to say that. Okay, there is, I was going to bring up Miley Cyrus because I feel like if you will, the horse veneers, no. But Miley, for some reason, they look good on her. Like,
She has
she's
veneers?
always...
I thought those were just her teeth.
But she always has kind of had.
Yeah.
No, if you look...
I think she changed her
I
front
think
teeth.
she changed something.
Because her front tooth used to be a little like,
Crooked?
yeah, she
Yeah, they
changed her
have,
front
like-
teeth, I think.
She looks great, and I don't know what it is that she has going on, but I'm like, the veneers or the teeth moderation that she has, I'm like, they just fit with her. I don't even say aesthetic, just the way that she looks. But I think veneers is not a one size fits all. Everyone's getting the same size teeth, and that's just not. So.
Yeah.
I'm a no for veneers in the sense of what they are, like in the way people get them. I think, teeth are a big deal and people want to feel confident with their smile, and I don't see anything wrong with that. I think getting veneers that look like horse teeth is fucking crazy. I'm so sorry. Just get them that look natural to your face and you'll be
Get
good.
bonding. Get teeth bonding.
Or braces, but some people need like their teeth. Or
Yeah, I
whatever.
would
But I'm a no.
I would also say not for aesthetic reasons. It just is starting to look really crazy, and then you guys are going to veneer techs people who are not licensed dentists, and it's just
Oh my
we
God.
need to
It's
stop.
somebody forgot that was a thing.
Stop letting people play in your mouth.
With your
Stop
body.
doing
Like,
that.
Stop letting people play with your body, period. Like, if you're getting any type of surgery, all of these things can be hot.
Stop
Yeah.
If you're
cutting
coughing
corners.
up the money to get it done.
Exactly. Like you
Cutting
gotta
corners is crazy.
you gotta
You will
spend.
die.
Yeah.
And also,
die.
this is like, some of this is permanent, like filler, whatever, you can get dissolved. But like a BBL,
Yeah,
you
you
can't
gotta be
keep going
careful.
under to fix your BBL. Like,
Yeah.
get it right the first time.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think that's all we have for the 6th episode of the podcast.
We forgot to
Oh.
talk about Sydney Sweeney and her dumb good genes.
Oh.
Well, you can see all of our reactions
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney and her dumb good genes. Loser. Anyway, solid episode, important conversations.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think about just the general beauty standards. Like if you come from a specific culture, specific race, and there's things that you've noticed in comparison to others, we'd love to hear the conversation.
Maybe some
to
other
know.
things that we didn't touch on that you think we should have, or you would have liked to hear us talk about.
Yeah.
But good episode, guys.
That's it.
Yeah,
for
we
6
did it.
episodes.
So if you want to find us on social media, we are OTGC Pod on all platforms. And personally, I am willie.duhart on TikTok and willie.duhart on Instagram.
I'm El the Egg on TikTok, Élise Osafo on Instagram, and Élise the Egg on YouTube.
And I'm Just Jelani on TikTok and itsjustjelani on Instagram.
Anyway, you can find me at _Leah T, Fit with Alliyah, or Leah's Legal Life on YouTube.
Anyway.
Okay, cool. Thanks for joining. We'll see you guys next time.